Today, we all are here to delve into an inspiring book, Lead from the Front. The book, co-authored by Purav Gandhi and Sandeep Krishna, presents a collection of remarkable military stories that exemplify courage, leadership, resilience. Through these narratives, we gain valuable insights into the principles of leadership that can be applied in various aspects of life, making this a must-read for anyone looking to be inspired and motivated. Today, we have gathered to know more about the incredible book from the author himself. We will witness a very interesting talk show, so without further ado, let me welcome Dr. Purav Gandhi. Dr. Purav Gandhi is a physician by education, an entrepreneur by profession, runs a management consulting firm called Health Insights, which he started in 2015. Purav was introduced to fascinating and inspiring world of armed forces when he first visited the National Defense Academy in Pune in 2018. Since then, he has read several books on military leaders and lessons from the inspiring actions and taken every opportunity to visit various armed forces establishments across the country. Interacting and learning from real-life heroes, he currently lives in his hometown, Ahmedabad, with his family, including his parents, wife, and two lovely kids. Dr. Purav, please join us for the talk. I now request Ms. Shradha Ramani to kindly join us and lead the conversation further. Shradha Ramani is a bilingual writer, poet, educationist. She is the president of renowned Ahmedabad Book Club and has authored 7 books, contributed to 8 anthologies with postgraduate degrees in English literature, public administration, philosophy, political science, women and gender studies, and a degree in education with gold medal. Shradha is a PhD scholar in political science. She heads the social science department at a reputed school in Ahmedabad. Shradha is also a public speaker who inspires many in the field of literature. She judges literary events, competitions at prestigious institutions like IITs, NITs, and various universities. Her radio programs in the Kike Charoke Se is also very popular among the listeners. Welcome, Shradha. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So this boy happens to be my biological son. Why I call biological? Because I have so many children and I've spent my life with children only. And I told him, I trained him to call me Shradha. I told him, don't call me mom and anything else on the forum. So for the first time in your life you did that. Thank you so much. You missed it. Because it's a book event, we would be beginning the event by taking the blessings of Almighty. So we would now request you all to kindly join us in taking the blessing from Ma Saraswati, who has made me, Purav, all of us come on this forum. Please. I request Mr. Prakash from Ahmedabad Book Club to kindly join. And Mr. Xavier D'Souza. Sir, please. Please. I insist. I'm not warning you, I'm just saying I have a lot of questions prepared or unprepared. So, anybody in the house who's read the book Lead from the Front? Lovely. You happen to be Purav's wife? Then you do not have choice. You have to read it, right, Purav?
I don't think so. I tried to get her to read during our writing phase. She read one chapter with a lot of difficulty. Fortunately, at one point, once we released the book, she read everything. just within like one night, she finished the entire book.
Happens.
Yeah.
So, we'll take it in a very unconventional manner. Though I am the host and your host for the evening, who would try to facilitate the session. But, which is your favorite story?
I think all of them. I loved all of them.
He won't
but-
say anything. Anyone?
Of Mr. Suryakant Shafekar, I'm very not prepared with the So Suryakant Shafekar.
The Dollar Play Gold.
Yes, Dollar Play.
He's correct. This is the moment we were waiting for. Sir, any story which is your favorite?
Yeah, that's ball in our court.
Ball in our court. And my favorite story is Thappad se dar nahi lagta. I mean, I so wanted to talk about this particular story because that when I was joining before an hour, I read it again कि मुझे उस बारे में ज़रूर बात करनी है. So first thing, before going into a conventional matter, why this that, why थप्पड़ से डर नहीं लगता, वो स्टोरी क्यों ऐड किया, उसके पीछे की काफ़ी सारी स्टोरीज होंगी जो हमें नहीं पता है. So we would like to hear from the author himself. Please give a huge round of applause because this is not an easy job to do.
Thank you, Shradha. Actually, if you were to ask me like which one is my favorite story, I would say the same. Thappad se dar nahi lagta. I told you once before, like when we were writing this book, we did a lot of literature research initially to get ourselves educated, pick the stories which we felt very strongly about, and eventually had a chance to meet all the heroes whose stories we have covered. But there is only one story we covered where we have not met the individual. It's a folklore in the army. I don't think anyone ever told us who the actual officer was. But we found that story to be very different from anything that people would generally write about when it comes to leadership or armed forces. People write about sacrifices, hard work. But I'm an entrepreneur by background, so in my entrepreneurial journey, I've gone through a lot of setbacks almost every day, right? And the ability to take failure in your stride, take it very lightly, laugh at it and move on, is something which is very hard to build as a skill.
Absolutely.
And this was one story where we felt the same. To get slapped by a terrorist and live to tell the tale is very unique. Not everyone gets that opportunity even within the armed forces.
Absolutely.
So we thought that this is something we have to absolutely write, whether it is real or not. We asked a few officers whether it's real or not. But then we said, look, it's our book. We might as well just write about it.
Writer's creative liberty, right?
Right.
Am I audible till last?
Yes.
So I would not hold my view. Again and again, taking, giving, a teacher by profession. So, why did I like Thappad se dar nahi lagta? Because Thappad se dar nahi lagta story is a story which is giving you a very subtle message. हार से डर नहीं लगता और कभी कभी निराश होने से डर नहीं लगता. In a very beautiful. Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
We'll come back to you. Our chief guest of the evening has joined us. So we'll come back to you. We'll continue with this. But Vijay, allow us 2 minutes. Thappad se dar nahi lagta because if we are talking about this story, we have to see that आपको लगेगा बॉलीवुड का कोई छोटा सा शॉर्ट मूवी देख रहे हो and each story will force you कि you are watching some sort of Bollywood movie, थोड़ा border का mixture लगता है but then in a very beautiful subtle language. हिंदी को इतनी खूबसूरती से यूज किया है बीच में and then immediately English का translation. It's like that you are talking and you are conversing with a person. So I loved that story for many reasons. One, because हार से डर नहीं लगता. And second thing which I loved about that story was that he accepted it. And there is a you are saying that there is a folklore. So there is a message coming up that ऐसी चीजें होती हैं तो embarrassments भी बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं. How to deal with such embarrassments is also very subtly told. we are trying to promote that you all should read this book. It's a must read. I have read it twice. It's a good one. Over to you, Divya.
Now let us welcome our guest of honor for the evening, Colonel Sanjay Gokhale. Colonel Sanjay Gokhale has served approximately 29 years in the Indian Army. He began his career as an army officer in the Corps of Engineering in June 1988. Soon after passing out of Indian Military Academy in Dehradun, he drove in the Gypsy class from the army in various rallies including the Desert Storm, Raid the Himalaya, Sajoba and the INRC in 2010. He took retirement from the army as a colonel in 2017 and joined TIRF. Subsequently, as Deputy Registrar and also officiated as Registrar before joining Ahmedabad University. In his 36-year career, he has served the entire length and breadth of the country, besides a stint with the United Nations in Sudan as the peacekeeper. He is a keen golfer, cricketer, swimmer, squash and badminton player, and a motorsport enthusiast. I request Dr. Purav Gandhi and Ms. Shradha Ramani to kindly felicitate him.
Sir, please come.
This thing mentioned 6:30, so I wasn't late.
Sir, you are not at fault. I also thought it's 6:30. Sir, I'll hold this
It's
with
fine. It's fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for joining us. Now, lead from the front. I mean, I read a lot about you, wherever bits and pieces I could find about you. You are a military fan. You are a cricket fan, and you are fond of listening and knowing about the army and military. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. Very correct.
So, is that the reason why you came up with this book?
So, I was telling sir that the level of awareness around armed forces, unfortunately, in Gujarat is a bit lower as opposed to what we would have in other states in India. I belong to a traditional Gujarati family. Father is a doctor, grandfather was a doctor. Everyone else in family is a businessman. The highest ambition and the highest level of awareness was knowing that IIT or IIMs exist. But beyond that, did not know much about NDA, did not know much about armed forces while I was graduating. So my first encounter in real life beyond movies with the armed forces happened when I got a chance to visit the NDA with Sudeep in 2018. Sudeep's my co-author for the book. But that one experience was just fascinating or transformational for me to realize how an army officer thinks, how an army officer is trained. Also learned, right, nothing is left to chance when it comes to army. Like, what a young officer at the age of 24 does can fundamentally make or break lives of individuals. So it can't be left to chance. There's so much training, so much rigor goes in. The culture was very different. So I got really fascinated by it, had a chance to visit the NDA once more, meet a few officers. My co-author Sudeep used to do this for a hobby since a child. He had tried to clear the SSB, he had failed once. His co-brother used to be at the NDA, he was a Colonel Q there, so he visited that campus many times. I said, look, you've been doing this, I don't want to end up doing the same thing where we keep meeting army people, knowing these places and then just talk about it. Let's convert it into something which is more tangible. And that's where the idea of the book started. And so I loved learning about army, kept reading about it, but writing a book gave a new discipline, new purpose to that entire quest, and hence the book. Though it took us a long time to get it done.
That was my next question. How much time did it take to come up as a book?
5 years. 5
That's
years
huge.
of dedication. in the process of writing, so I'm an MBA. I did my graduation in medicine, but an MBA, and my profession is management consulting. So typically, what management consultancy is two things: make PowerPoints and frameworks. And our idea was that if we can, by meeting army officers and army people, convert the concept of leadership into a framework for everybody to get inspired. That is what we were aiming to achieve. So we wrote almost like a first draft with a table of contents and a few pages with a framework in place. We realized that the only thing we did not like about the book was the framework. We said it's not as simple. So we ditched that draft and said, like, let's write stories which people can read, can relate to, and everybody based on their life and circumstance will take away something from it. We wrote a second draft which was stories. Now in this process, we had only met Colonel Vijay Kumar, whose story we cover later in the book. But we had not met anyone else. And we said that, look, based on this literature search, how far can we get? Can we try to meet one or two people to vet whether we are on the right lines or not? So we tried to meet one or two people, and then, like, the universe conspires. So one of my friends, I told him about the book. He belongs to publication industry. So he said, yeah, कोई publisher तो नहीं मिलेगा, but मेरे अंकल हैं, वो 1971 वॉर में थे, अगर उसके बाद उनको वीर चक्र मिला था, तो उनसे मिलना चाहते हो तो I can at least facilitate an intro. And I was listening to that podcast like half asleep. He said कि सर काफी strict है, थोड़ा बढ़ के जाना है ऐसे, just don't walk into that meeting. तो उनका podcast सुन के जाना. So I was listening to that podcast half asleep, and then just 15 minutes into it, I realized this is the story we have written. And he was the pilot who was leading the squadron of all the fighter pilots. They did a first heli drop operation for Indian Army. So I said, then I immediately called Sudeep, saying, like, it's his story. We have written it from a different perspective, but it's his story. And then we called him, we met sir. He had a presentation to describe, like, technically how that war was fought, told us first-hand narrative of how wars were fought in 1971. And then we developed a new sense of confidence. अगर ये story मिल सकती है, we can get other stories also. So we called sir saying, sir, there's one more Air Force story we have written, Daulat Beg Goldie. Do you know anybody who has been around, like, जिसको mission के बारे में पता हो? He said, yeah, there is a group captain who is my friend. He writes for Bharat Rakshak magazine. इस पे story की थी, so why don't you? I'll introduce. So he introduced us to group captain Anand Behu. It was a simple mail, and then within 5 minutes, sir replied that, look, I have written the article, but I'll introduce you the pilot who flew the mission, and he copied him. So we met Suryakant Shafekar sir, Air Vice Marshal, and from there, like this, we developed a confidence, and we called DPK Pillai sir. We met each individual. So in that entire process, we rewrote the book one more time.
So, are there any sequels coming up of this book?
We're very keen to do that, but this was a taxing journey to write the book. So probably after 1 year book, 1 year break, I'm very hopeful that we'll write a second edition or a third edition.
We are looking forward to. There are 9 stories in this. Were there 9, or were there more stories you one day sat and you did scrutiny, okay, we'll keep this and we'll not keep this, something like this happened?
There were a few more stories where we did not have in-depth information. There was, and we also felt that they did not fully fit into the book, so we left some of them. Also, for the people whose stories we have covered, there were 2 or 3 stories that they had gone through within their lifetime, but eventually, like, to keep the narrative simple, we just picked one part of the story, and that's what we presented. So we had to let go a lot of material. It was very difficult. The most difficult part of writing the book was to letting go some of the material that we had.
Yes. So that was my question, because this is such a sensitive topic, wherein if you said that you met few of the people, and there are certain people whose names have been changed and all, but obviously when we are talking about this book and this topic, it is our national security, so we cannot reveal everything in one go. So when you were coming up with this, you and Sudeep, when was the final draft ready?
So our final draft was ready somewhere around August of 2023. Then we met each of the individuals from exactly security and confidentiality perspective to see if we need to eliminate any information, change any information. So that went on till November. The publishers were very kindly submitted it like towards late November, and they turned around the draft, the entire book by 26 January when we wanted to launch it.
Wow. And you got it published from Notion Press.
Notion Press.
How was the journey with the publisher?
So Notion Press is a hybrid publication platform. So for those who are not very aware about publication process, there are three ways you publish. One is the standard major publications like HarperCollins or Rupa or any of those. You have to submit and pitch to those publishers, and then if they like your book, they would decide to publish. Then they take over everything, including even the narrative of the book. They have a lot of say in that process. For a first-time author, typically there is a 3 or 4 year waiting period before your book gets published. Then there is a hybrid publication platform like Notion Press, where you own the entire narrative of the book, the entire rights to the book, but you pay for a select set of services, and then they would design the cover page, they would do everything in terms of publication. And then there is complete self-publication, where you just basically write the book and upload it on Amazon for a Kindle copy. So we used a hybrid publication mode. The journey was kind of, I would say, a learning journey, because we had never written before, so how to do the manuscript, writing, editing of it. Was a very nice learning experience, I would say. A bit bumpy at times, as you can imagine, but a good learning experience.
I can. I mean, now we heard a doctor who is an MBA, but he's giving a very good, learning lesson on how to publish a book. So we do not wonder when Purav comes up with the next session, how to get published, how to publish a book, isn't it?
So you're an entrepreneur, right? I might even, my goal would be to start a publication house,
Okay,
but that is very far.
I want to apply for the post of editor.
Absolutely.
See, we are live, we are in public. Why would I miss an opportunity?
Absolutely. If you are willing to do that, then we will start a publication
Alright,
house.
so this is done. I think we have 50 or 55 alibis here. Some of the pictures of audience, that was I was trying to tell. We are keeping the session informal. From this side, take pictures of audience. So, I mean, coming to the serious thing, I was sometimes trembling when I was reading the book, because it is very easy to watch a movie. पूरी देखने के बाद बहुत लोगों को बहुत सारे इमोशंस डेवलप हुए, एक देशभक्ति की भावना डेवलप होती है, बट देन हम सैटरडे को उरी देखते हैं, मंडे को हम काम पे जाते हैं, ट्यूसडे तक वो फीलिंग वेव ऑफ हो जाती है. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Very true.
But the people who live, the people who are associated, we have two people, we are blessed that we have two people from the force here. So those people who are from this journey, when you met them, what kind of emotion was there in your heart?
Great question. And we have three people, sir, also.
I'm so sorry.
Officer.
I take that my sister apologies.
See, I think there is a lot of, for the first time when I was meeting some of the people whose stories we have covered, there is a lot of aura in your mind around these individuals, and they are all remarkable individuals. But the biggest learning during the book was these are also normal, everyday people, human beings, like all army officers, and most of us love our country, are patriots. But ऐसा नहीं है कि like you wear it on your sleeve every moment, right? And most of these officers also have a day job. बहुत सारी responsibilities होती है, so it's not that they have to take a bullet in their chest every moment. So they have competition, उसमें भी responsibilities होती है, sir, correct if I'm wrong, there is promotions, there is competition, there could be at times organization, politics, all these things exist. And you live through that life, you have your family, you have your responsibilities. But when the right moment arrives, then you are able to forget all that and rise above that to do the right thing. And that is what differentiates a leader from a common manager. And that was the biggest lesson during all these meetings, when I met these individuals, पहले बहुत औरा था, but they were also very normal people. But when the right moment arose, they did the right thing. They did what one of the best leaders could do.
Absolutely, beautifully answered. And the next thing which I have observed in this, that there is a level of frustration in 2 or 3 stories. It is there that force में आए हैं, we have a lot of enthusiasm कि भी बहुत कुछ करने मिलेगा. I am posted here and all. And the most frustrating thing is that we have to stay like that for months. There is nothing happening, and that particular emotion when you try to put up in 2 or 3 stories, you put up कि पहले तो हमारा थप्पड़ से डर नहीं लगता है, when we feel that okay अभी मेरे पास ये है तो I'll do it, or what to do it. Maybe I mean they are doing it, but this, did you observe that somebody was actually frustrated कि बहुत टाइम तक वेट करना पड़ता है, and actually there is no force, मतलब कुछ एक्शन जैसा नहीं है काफी समय तक. Does it demotivate or something like that?
Actually, उतना नहीं था. When I met most of the officers, and I had also not met like many young officers who were just starting their careers. So most of them were fairly tenured. They had battle scars, right? They had seen, they had lost men during some encounters. So by then they had matured significantly, where they would be always prepared, but they would not be frustrated by lack of action. Young officer might feel a bit differently.
Hot blood.
But most of them were seasoned, they had seen action, and worst of all, like, they had lost men. So, uske baad, I think everything changes. You are not the same anymore after that.
Which is the most difficult story in this book? Difficult, when I say word difficult, means which was difficult for you or Sudeep? I mean, it's not that difficult that you're picking up the author. Was it that difficult question? I don't think so. Which
Not
was
at all.
the most difficult to put up in the book? 4 बार सोचना पड़ा, 2 बार सोचना पड़ा, रखे नहीं रखे?
I think ऐसा तो किसी स्टोरी के लिए नहीं था. But the one which was very difficult to write was Turning the Tide, Colonel Vijay's story. We had known Colonel Vijay for a very long time. Sudeep had been witness to his entire career with the Indian Army. And there were so many instances. So now when you know somebody very closely, you know, like, the story becomes very complex. क्योंकि आपको बहुत सारे background, nuances, side instances पता है. There are like 4 or 5 instances. So in his case, he has 2 commendations, Sena Medal and Shaurya Chakra. But the part around his story which fascinated us the most was not when he got those medals. So we had to drop that part from the story. Then we have covered his posting in the Kashmir Valley region, but sir was also posted in Siachen, where also again there was a fascinating part to his story. So ये सब drop करने का मन नहीं कर रहा था, we were very greedy, but we still had to kind of package it in a way where it was digestible. So his story we rewrote the most. Again, he knew us very closely, so he would never hold back feedback. तो उन्होंने हमें बहुत feedback दिया, इतना feedback दिया that we had to rewrite it many times. So like if फौज में बंदूक कभी left hand में नहीं पकड़ते, like cover page पे उन्होंने feedback दिया था.
मैं technicalities और nuances के लिए I would personally say hats off. मुझे लग रहा था ये book
He trashed our cover page, like फौज में बंदूक नहीं पकड़ते left hand में, like
imagine. But यहाँ पे अब that is what I was trying to bring up in my next question. That we as an authors, when I have authored 7 books, we had creative liberty कि भाई fictional character है, बना लो अपने आसपास की कहानी है. But यहाँ पे वो risk नहीं लिया जा सकता.
यहाँ पे risk नहीं लिया जा सकता. I think for 2 reasons. हमने फिर भी काफी creative liberty ली है. But not to the same extent. One was because these individuals were very kind. So one of the things we did during the journey was visited Uri Brigade. Now Uri Brigade and the LOC, which is like 17-18 kilometers from there, is a live border. The action can happen anytime. So वहाँ पे we had unlimited access to go into bunkers, look at the entire setup, know bunch of information. We would not know कि इसमें से क्या लिखना है क्या नहीं लिखना है. Similarly, we visited Gwalior Air Force Base. Gwalior Air Force Base has 4 squadrons. वहाँ पे TAC TF, which is Indian equivalent of Top Gun. They told us many stories. They were very careful, but still you don't know कि इसमें से आप क्या mention नहीं कर सकते हो. So we had to check all those things. Some of the missions were classified. तो Kapil Sinha ji की हमने story लिखी है. The story which we have covered is the one where he won the Shaurya Chakra. But his other story, where he won the Sena medal, was a cross-border operation. This cross-border operation, abhi Uri ka cross-border operation is very famous. The current government takes a lot of pride in publishing this information. But they did this operation in 1999. Post-Kargil उन्होंने किया था, where they went Pakistan, destroyed 2 of their major establishments and came back. ये widely published नहीं है and borderline on how much can be written around that story. So you have to cross-check all the information. Second was also a question of credibility. Like you can't be grossly wrong when it comes to the armed forces in terms of titles of individuals or the way some of the action happens. So we had to be more careful on these things.
Excellent, superb. And how much are you missing Sudeep in this moment?
A lot, I would say.
I know, I can.
So he's also very technical about some of these things. Like he's almost like a military historian. So I would have loved for him to answer some of the questions during this talk.
Am I asking difficult questions?
No, you are not.
So,
but we would have had the opportunity to show off a lot more.
I hope Sudeep you are watching us live, and we will do a live session on Ahmedabad Book Club. I would invite you also again. And then we'll have, so that this circle can be completed. One author is here and we are actually enjoying this session. But the other person who has created, he might be having different perspectives, different narrations. Something from Sudeep's side, जो उन्होंने आज बोला कि if you're going, तो कुछ कह के आना.
I think Sudeep would have been a lot more technical and nuanced about some of these things as compared to I would have been. But he would always start by saying his life was very nice and sorted. Must have great उसकी जिंदगी. He loved about these army stories. Her party में he would gather a group of 5-10 people, tell them stories. सब सही था until he introduced me to this world. And then I got him to do the entire grind of writing the book, rewriting so many versions of it. So that is something he would have definitely said if he were
Really said it. I hope you want this. If not, then this will be posted on our page. I'm promoting the page as well. So we would be live on Ahmedabad Book Club page along with lead from the front. So the next thing is that why, I mean, we discussed why book, but when you were a child, were you a reader?
Not very much. I started reading almost around the time when I finished my graduation, and then gradually picked up reading as a hobby much later my life. Because I was doing medicine, so medicine में तो कहते हैं इतनी सारी books है, so like you don't feel compelled to read anything else. But once I finished medicine, moved to MBA, then I started reading a bit more.
So who's your favorite author?
Good question. Hard to point out one, but I would say Simon Sinek. I like his books a lot. The way he narrates. Within literature around Jocko Willink writes very well around leadership, along with how it describes his mission. I like his book. India's Most Fearless. The 3 books Shradha Ramani and they have written are really awesome narrations.
So good research on this topic. 5 years research. A PhD generally gets completed in 3 years, but this book has been completed in 5
PhD has a much fatter output than.
But then, I mean, from the experience, I can say it is easy to create a thick book. It is difficult to edit it, re-edit it, edit it, and keeping it like this.
So we could tell a lot about that. Like I generally had much longer versions, and he was very adamant around cutting the fat from the book, and that was I think one of the most important things we did during our writing journey.
That's the most important thing, because as a reader, when I go, I would not see the thickness of the book, because I am a crazy reader since I started reading. But many of the times I see that people are buying books on the basis of the thickness. कि कितनी देर में finish करेंगे? I mean, nobody is. I will tell you, mostly people are
I
not
thought the
bothered.
reverse है. अगर गुजराती हो अगर 250 रुपए की बुक है तो 250 पेजेस तो होने ही चाहिए.
ये same thought. I love the idea. कि गुजराती हो कितने 250 रुपए की book है, तो 250 रुपए की book है. We are doing promotion. There is a scan code here. Chika is a scan code here. So those who want to take their copies, 250 रुपए की बुक है. हाँ, मैं भी गुजराती हूँ. So हाँ, this is a fact. लेकिन I'll tell you that good things come in small packages. This is one such example of that good thing which has come in a very small package, and all the stories are flow. I mean, I would not. There is a lot which I've discussed about your book with many people, and I told many people. There is a person who said कि मैं movie बनाने का कुछ ढूंढ रहा हूँ. मैंने कहा I have a book. I mean, I'm just sharing. I said I have a book. क्या है उस book में? मैंने कहा वो तो आपको पढ़ना पड़ेगा. Now the irony is that person से पढ़ नहीं पाऊंगा. Coming to the serious point here, that we are creating books, we are creating literature, but the readers are decreasing. We will have to accept this fact that people are more interested in reading books on ChatGPT. There is a very easy thing that you can put the name of the book and the publisher on AI, and AI आपको summary दे दे. तो मुझे लगता है कि ये plight है. I personally do not feel that it is a very good feature, because एक बात है कि today's reader is tomorrow's leader. The more we read, it stays within us. I mean, when you created this book, I have learned a lot of things. I mean, जैसे आर्मी में आपने वो एक बहुत beautiful thing है जो मेरे साथ रह गई है काफी दिनों से. अब मुझे वो चलने लगा है. Sir, if you allow me to say that there is always one person who is there. You said that.
There is a buddy.
There is a buddy.
Always.
तो वो ना मुझे अब पता नहीं क्यों जब से मैंने बुक खत्म किया, 15 days ago I finished it, and तब से मुझे वो thought चलता रहता है that there is a buddy, there is a buddy, and it gave a different meaning to me. As a reader, I thought yes, there is a buddy with me as well. Maybe that thought has taken me to different levels. So when my point of view here is that when you create a book, you give yourself a part of you to everybody. So, was there a fear? How would people accept?
Not as much. I think naivety is your best friend in many instances, right? Like when you're writing for the first time and don't know much about it, तो क्या होता है कि आप ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस में आराम से चीजें कर देते हो. And that has helped me throughout my life. So I did an MBBS and went to do an MBA. मुझे ज़्यादा पता नहीं था. One of my closest friends, Rohan, is here in the audience. He and I made that. So we made that jump together, but we didn't know much about it. So आराम से कर दिया. Same way, like about starting my own company, leaving a decent job. I didn't know much about it. So कर दिया. So same applies here. I would say I'm more nervous today as opposed to more how nervous I was when I published the book. I was telling Shikhar, like so. In my work, I do a lot of talks around the topic of healthcare, management consulting. So this was just another talk in that sense. And I said, look, बाकी तो क्या है कि जब मैं घर पे आता हूँ तो irrespective of how the talk is, मैं बोलता हूँ कि it was awesome and everybody believes it. But my family is here, a lot of my other family members and friends are here. So I said, I cannot screw this one up. So I'm more nervous today than as compared to when I published the book.
This is a beautiful and lovely confession coming out here. And those of you who are, does it look like a scripted conversation? It is not. Both of us had only one notion when I think we only talked for 5 minutes.
Once for 5 minutes.
Once for 5 minutes, and there was only one thing we both were sure of: we would not keep it scripted.
She said that I'll ask you questions and I'll not tell you the questions. Like, that's the easiest thing. Because if you tell me now, I have to prepare and it'll be very difficult.
and that's the way I interview people. I was interviewing a person from industry background a day before in the same hall. And the best thing which I have learned through this journey is that you read the book, you feel the book, and then you ask questions. Rather than going from scripted list, what is the point of asking that? and then you are feeling nervous. I'm making you feel nervous. That's the beauty of having an unscripted conversation.
No, but I think that is the best. I would be more nervous if I had it scripted, so I feel a lot
Same
comfortable
page.
this way.
I would miss the questions which is to ask, which is not to be asked. Is there any plan of making this book into Hindi? Translating it into
Good question. There are two things we do want to do. Convert it into Hindi as well as do an audiobook, because nowadays there are a lot of people who consume audiobooks. Something we intend to do, but it's just a lot of work involved, so I will do it at some point in time, probably in a few months' time.
Hindi and another language, Gujarati?
Not Gujarati for now, probably Hindi. We haven't sold as many copies where you would feel the confidence to invest in
There are so many
languages.
copies. I checked the report on Amazon. There are so many copies.
So it is a learning for me. I always knew that reading as a form of content consumption is reducing. But this was a new discovery for me, like how few people read when we launched the book. We got into the bestseller category in Amazon, ranked second in our category for a week. And we had sold 300, 350 copies in that
That's
week.
a huge.
So I thought that you don't become like number 2 book when you sell just 350 copies, but that also exposed us to the fact that how few people read.
Very true.
But so through this, in general, I give the book to everybody because I'm hoping that I used to give like other authors' books to people in my team. Now I give our book because I feel like at least hopefully 5% of people will read if we give them by any chance there, and more people will
The
start
MBA
reading.
is working here.
This I would have charged for it if I were an MBA.
No, I mean you are gifting this book so that anybody else can read, and then wo 3 book wala formula.
I am hoping that would happen. But really, I'm so glad that so many people visited this particular talk and conversation, because generally number of people who read has declined so much. And like you said, you don't get the same message by seeing a movie or a reel. You don't feel as attached to a story. You don't develop the same emotion as you develop when you read. You imagine the story in your mind, develops a different level of detailing as compared to what you would see in a movie. And अब तुम लोग मूवी भी नहीं देखते, रील्स में ही खत्म कर लेते हैं.
वो भी 30 सेकंड का 90 से 60
हम बना रहे हैं इसके रील्स, by the way, we are doing reels.
Again promotion, MBA. An MBA guys.
लगा तभी we'll have like millions of people see it, not if it's just a book.
We can do one thing. Those people who are finding it interesting, and those people who are planning to get this copy along with you, we can have a double meetup. Once you all have read it, we can plan someday, and then we can listen. Because one thing which I have learned as a leader is कि सेम स्टोरी मैंने पढ़ा हुआ है और सेम स्टोरी सपोज आपने पढ़ा हुआ है, और हम दोनों मिलते हैं तो अलग अलग पहलू मिलते हैं, एकदम अलग. वो एक मूवी क्रिएट कर ही नहीं सकती. मूवी में बस वही है जो सामने दिख रहा है, आप वही फील करोगे. लेकिन सेम चीज जैसे मैंने इमेजिन किया होगा, जैसे आपने इमेजिन, दिस लाइक गिविंग यू horizons to your own thought, to your own thought process. So we would welcome all of you from Ahmedabad Book Club if you come up and want to share a post story, what happened after reading this book, and we would love that you write the reviews. That's the only thing which motivates the author.
True, very true.
That's the only thing which motivates.
It's so motivating when somebody has read your book. Even if they give a critical review, the fact that they have read it means the world.
And the critical ones are the true readers.
They are the true readers.
They are the true readers, those who have actually read.
The book.
Otherwise, it's awesome. I had an awesome day. It's always like that. So I think I am done with all my questions, and I open the floor for all of you to ask questions from the horse's mouth. Now it is going to be difficult. Amit, it was easy. Yes. They would ask. ऐसा नहीं है, हर बार ऐसा होता है 5 मिनट की खामोशी होता ही है. Do you need a mic? I would need a volunteer. Rishi, please.
Nice meeting, Purav. I would just make a comment rather than asking you a question. Very rightly said by her, and by you. There are people like me who don't read. But after listening to you, I will definitely read your book. I have bought your book. I have bought your book long back. You know that. I have bought it for my son. He might have read. I don't know. I haven't asked him. But I haven't read. So I will read your book and then I will ask you a question personally. This is a comment after this meeting, yeah.
That is the purpose. Again, I'll grab an opportunity to promote Ahmedabad Book Club. That is the purpose of having book talk sessions, because the book remains on Amazon's storehouses or on bookstores. When we try to collaborate with authors, when we call people like you, because ऐसे नहीं होता है. We all are humans. कितना भी AI आ जाए, कुछ भी आ जाए, जैसे sir rightly said कि उनको सुनने के बाद he is feeling. The same thing goes on with all the authors. And I have seen this in so many years of my life, that when a book is being talked, तभी book is promoted, because then only we can create that kind of enthusiasm कि हाँ book पढ़नी चाहिए, अच्छी लग रही है. अच्छा ठीक है, Amazon पे देखी थी, घर पे ले आए, क्रॉसवर्ड गए थे ले आए. बट अब मुझे लगता है आप में से काफी लोग, एंड वी केप्ट इट डेलिबरेटली ऑन सैटरडे, ताकि आप संडे का एक स्टोरी तो पढ़ के ही जाएं. So we at Ahmedabad Book Club are promoting literary activities to boundless capacities. Those of you who want to come up, want to talk about book, want to present your poetries, please do contact us, and we would love to host you. I did my branding. I mean, this is how things are supposed to be. Yes, sir. Yes.
Hey, bro. If at any point you felt like dropping this project in this journey?
That was
Beautiful.
great question. I was personally very determined to get the project completed, but I did shelve the project on multiple occasions because you would hit a roadblock, not find information, and then suddenly your energy around writing would drop. But also being two co-authors helps a lot to keep each other honest and motivated around doing your part. If I had done it alone, or I think Sudeep had done it alone, we might have had those moments where we would have shelved it and not picked it up. But because we were doing it jointly, we put it on the back burner for a month and a half, but then would again pick it up, and it kept happening again and again. There was naturally that feeling where there would be writer's block, where you feel can't do it, can't do more any now. So there were such moments.
Writer's block is a very natural.
The biggest one was when we met a few publishers, and they said they would not even take the time to read your book proposal. And they said if we select it, it will take 4 years. That was a moment where we felt that was 4 more years is going to be tough. But then we found this hybrid publication model where we could get it done faster.
Did you submit your script? I'm so sorry. Did you submit your script to any of the traditional publishers?
We submitted our proposal to 2-3 publishers, but we generally people told that put the proposal to 20, 30, 40 publishers. We just dropped that process after first 2-3 conversations.
I mean, to a very, very serious point, because I deal with this thing almost every 3 months. This is very sad and very, I would say that disheartening. कि नहीं देखते वो आपका script. It is just rejected like this, और ये 4 years लगेगा. Maybe because of this, many of the authors who are gems, जो शायद अपनी script के accept होने का wait कर रहे हैं. I think you open a publishing house.
I think
हाँ.
It is so difficult. They don't read your proposals. उसके बिना ही मना कर देते हैं. Even if they select it, as a first-time author, they don't promote your book at all. Like top 4, 5, 10 authors are promoted in crosswords. उनकी book हर जगह होती है. but others are just parked in the corner, they don't see the light of the day. Same happens for agents. So, like you said, a couple of agents have met me in this time कि they will take 10% of the money if a movie gets created, हम promote करेंगे. तुमने पढ़ी, हम नहीं पढ़ते. तो यार कैसे pitch करोगे यार आप नहीं पढ़ते हो तो?
Exactly.
तो खुद खरीदो पढ़ो. If you like it, then I'll sign the contract with you. But they don't.
पहले उनको 25,000 रुपए दीजिए. See, we are talking about a serious thing here. We are not doing a conversation which is only this. पहले आप उन्हें 25,000 रुपए दीजिए. To be an author in this country, the first prerequisite is that you should have money, which is sad. मतलब हम हमेशा ये बोलते हैं कि सुबह में I am a teacher by profession. तो सुबह मुझे पहले क्लासेस लेने हैं so that मैं बुक पब्लिश करने का पैसा कमा सकूं. फिर बचे कुछ टाइम से मैं किताब लिखूं और फिर ऑथर वाली आइडेंटिटी तो सोशल कैपिटल है. That is to कितना कमाया होगा आपने इस बुक से? Hardly.
We have invested a lot of money, not made any money.
Invested a lot, but not made.
मैंने royalties में 30-35,000 रुपए कमाए. I have like spent 15 times the amount of money in the writing process.
I can feel the pain.
And during the process, I had realized it. So we felt कि नहीं हमें फिर भी करना, and thankfully we had the wherewithal to do it. But not everyone has it. So it's a genuine pain point. A lot of good literature doesn't get to the readers because how non-democratic the process is.
How non-democratic? Recently, I think 3-4 months ago, I'm forgetting the name of the author. Kindly accept my apologies. But उनको एक लेटर मिला कि आपको राष्ट्रीय पत्र मिल रहा है आपके लेखन के लिए. तो उन्होंने वापस में चिट्ठी लिखा कि पर मेरे पास ट्रेन की टिकट के पैसे नहीं. This is a plight. मतलब आप उनको नेशनल प्राइज दे रहे हो. पता नहीं कोई और वो भी नसीब वाले होंगे कि किसी ढंग के आदमी ने पढ़ लिया हो. तो हम वेट यही करते हैं. We authors wait for that moment कि कोई पढ़ ले, and पढ़ने के बाद भी this is hopes. I mean, I'll tell you the 10,000 copies sold. आप बता रहे हो कि जब वो नंबर 2 पे चल रहे हैं hardly 300 copies. So, I mean, we are trying to promote by this conversation is that read and develop a reading fraternity. Gift books. That's the beautiful thing. Gift books. आप books gift करोगे ना, आप readers create कर लोगे. क्योंकि again हम गुजरात में बैठे हैं, 200 रुपया भी waste तो होगा नहीं. आप बिल्कुल नहीं होगा.
Yeah, I think books. Most people I have seen, अगर उनके पास 10, 15, 25 books हो अपने लैब में, तो at some point you pick it up. If you don't have it, you will never pick it up. So having books.
I'll give you a live example of this. I am sitting here. I have an alibi also for this. Many of my students are also sitting here. I am reader, as I said, and nobody else in my family reads. Nobody else reads. And when I created my Hindi book, my first book was a Hindi book. My husband finished it in 4 hours. मुझे तो लगा झूठ बोल रहा है. मुझे तो लगा इसने अखबार के अलावा आज तक कुछ नहीं पढ़ा. इस लाइक मैंने तो मॉर्निंग में चाय के समय एग्जाम भी ले लिया. मैंने कहा कौन सा स्टोरी पढ़ा तुमने? उसका प्रोटैगनिस्ट का नाम क्या था? मैंने नहीं ढंग से सच में पढ़ा. Then I asked my both children कि तुम लोग मेरी बुक कब पढ़ोगे? कहते मम्मा जब आप इंग्लिश में क्रिएट करोगे. And that's how I became an English author. I created a novel, and that is A Beautiful Mess, and he read it in one night. My daughter read it. So I am trying to tell you that अगर हम create करेंगे ना, तो ऐसे लोग भी पढ़ लेते हैं. अब मेरे घर वाले मेरी सारी किताबें पढ़ते हैं. At least 3 लोग तो हैं जो मेरी किताब पढ़ते हैं. बाकी लोग, I mean there is, but I'm trying to tell that we inspire. He inspired me to write an English novel, and when he read it, I only wanted to see, chalo theek hai, if he is reading by, if I am creating and he is reading, so that motherly feeling that okay, theek hai, let me create more books which will impress him. So we authors have this kind of light. I mean, you are a professional who's earning a lot from a different, on a different zone. Obviously, we all are sitting on different, but we are praying that one day someone reads and we can only write and hold such kind of sessions as well.
That would be the dream. So from this journey, I feel like it's a long way to go, but it's been a very fulfilling journey to write the book and see it come alive. Like, despite all the efforts, I would want to do it again and again without a doubt.
Super. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm Chetan Chauhan. I'm sorry for I came late. And first of all, I would like to congratulate for publishing this.
Thank you.
And my question is, as per the process, I realized that you have done your MBBS, then do MBA, and now I also what prompted you to chase all these three aspects.
So I say this bit of a jest, but like sometimes you have kind of a tendency to make poor choices one after another, and you keep doubling down. So when I did my MBBS, when I went for MBBS, I thought this was like the last bad choice I made in my life. But then I went one level below, did an MBA. और कि यहाँ पे end हो जाएगा. So then I quit my good job and I went to start a company. Like इससे बुरा तो क्या ही करूँगा. Then I wrote a book and discovered a new law. I think that curiosity and naivety to keep trying new things is what prompted me.
Purav, it is the other way around. I would say it is the other way around. You did MBBS was here. Doing an MBA after MBBS was here. And you know, writing a book is beyond. So I would like to congratulate you. You have done a better thing. You have done better rather than going down. I am absolutely saying exactly the opposite what you said. You did a good thing.
You will live until the civilization ends.
That,
This is what you've done. Take credit.
no, of course, but like I said, I say it lightly because each step is more painful than the other, but you discover new skills by doing something like that.
दुख है but सुख से कह रहे हैं. Yes, sir.
It was a nice, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
It was a nice discourse. I would just like to ask you the title. How do you arrive the title of the book? Because writing a book is a good thing. At the end, we find how to present the title. And second thing is, what you shown is the confidence. Because you have gone from MBBS to all these levels, your confidence was still there. And that has yielded to this book. So thank you very much. I would like to know about the title.
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. It's a very big facet of writing a book, the title selection, because most people would decide to read or buy the book based on the title and the cover page. So we're acutely aware of that. We're very sure that we want to have the word leadership somewhere within the title. And we had not decided the title till the entire draft was completed and the manuscript had already gone to the publisher. And then, like many things, we discovered that most titles are taken. There is no names available because there are so many leadership books, so most of the good names were taken away. Then eventually we zeroed down on we looked at some 80, 100 options. We tried ChatGPT to give title options also. But then we said this was one of those titles which kind of narrated our message, lead from the front. And at the same time was something on which there were not too many popular books. There is one more book called Lead from the Front, by the way. But in this entire... Two more. But we also learned that now book titles are not just Lead from the Front. The entire tagline around it constitutes the title, and we encourage to write a longer tagline because there's better SEO, Amazon indexes is better, etc. So that's where we settled down on this name. We also did a lot of beta testing around the name, so we had 2-3 names which we had zeroed down on and then showed it to a few of the people whose stories we had covered, few people in our family, few of the beta readers, and then got to this name.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sudhanshu wants to ask.
I wanted to ask that how was the experience of being a co-author and what kind of a bond did you develop with Sudeep sir, and क्या कुछ ऐसे किस्से हैं in the process जो कि ऐसा मतलब there is a lot of strain in the journey and along with comes a lot of humor भी आता है उसके साथ बहुत सारा.
True. So it was a phenomenal experience. I knew Sudeep from a long time. He was my first boss. He had recruited me in my first job. We had worked together a lot. Now he has left his job, and we both are now co-founders in the company I run. So we knew each other well. But this opened up a new dimension, right? Because we visited a lot of these places together. We put in a lot of awkward situation during the entire process of writing the book. Some of the officers we met were not easy individuals to run those conversations, run those meetings. Was a completely new experience for us. Also, like, we would have a lot of debate around क्या लिखना है, क्या नहीं लिखना है, how the book should read. So there would be a lot of healthy but still friction on different occasions. So in that, and then one of the hardest things of being co-authors is you have to find alignment on every single thought, right? In general, in life, you can agree to disagree and move on. But now you're publishing it, so you both have to be sure about this, agree about this. So it was a very involved process for both of us to kind of get on the same page. It has helped us a lot because like now we run the company together, and the fact that we are on the same page on almost everything because of the book helps us a lot.
Even the cover page of the book.
Even the cover page. So we were actually, cover page was one thing where the publisher said that, look, we only do 3 iterations. And we were very sure because 3 iterations mein hamara nahi hoga. They did such a killer job. Actually, this is the first iteration. We got done on the first iteration. But on the name also we had this again like a lot. Like the name at least we both have to like really like it. A lengthy process to arrive at a name that both of us could stand by for the rest of our lives.
Any other questions? Yes.
Firstly, thanks Purav for candidly sharing the overall experience of writing the book. My question would be more on the process, or I would say when you started interacting with the leaders. I mean, like the senior leaders from the military background, right? So, do you see any in terms of getting some inspiration that in the process of listening to the stories of leaders from the military background, was there something that truly had some subtle or maybe a significant impact in a gradual way in terms of, let's say, your professional journey, your your progress as an entrepreneur, or did this journey of understanding the stories outside of what we are in the profession of that? I am also from healthcare background, so did these journeys in a way impact directly or indirectly in other aspects of your life?
Thank you, sir. Great question. I think I would say, like, I'm so happy that many people have read the book, but even if they had not, the entire effort of writing the book was justified because it has fundamentally helped me learn and change a lot through this journey. Right? The topic of leadership is important for everyone in their everyday life. Right? The entire concept of the book is that leaders are not only at the top of an organization, leaders are in small teams, small units. You can be a leader in everything you do. And that is something I saw live by meeting many of these individuals who were very generous in terms of telling their candid stories, explaining what they did, what they achieved, what they learned. So naturally, a lot of that had an impact on me during the book writing process, whether it is in terms of building discipline, building confidence, being more persistent with different things. Like if I were writing on something else, 5 years is a very long time. Mostly I would have dropped the project, but the people I had met during the journey, I was inspired enough to be persistent with this project, and that's just one example. So in many ways, in many intangible ways, in many things that I would do on a day-to-day basis, this book changed me significantly, I would say. And that's again one of the biggest motivators why I would want to continue writing on this subject, because I would have this opportunity to meet fascinating people along the journey. Also, many of them would meet even without a book, but book gives a lot of purpose to some of these meetings. You have rest of the conversations because you are trying to go deeper into a subject.
So, hello Purav. I would not have a question as such, but I would like to make a comment. I would like to confess something that I am also from the healthcare background, and I was reading all the scientific reports by the Health Arc Insights. So you were acting as a professional inspiration for me till now, till date. But now that I have came across this book, I'm also very keen about the defense, and I used to do the same. I also visited few of the base camps as well. So I would really read this book, and I hope that you'll inspire me on the personal front as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He would. All good things come to an end, right? So now that we've done with the question answer sessions, a lot of questions have been asked. And Purav has been patient in answering all the questions, and you have passed this examination full marks, 100 out of 100. Huge round of applause for Purav. Now I request Sir to kindly speak a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted one question for you, Can I sit down and answer?
Yes, please, sir.
Please come here and ask.
Yes.
See, when I read the book, I could relate right from the page number 1 to page last because I've served in all those areas. In fact, probably the overall audience was civilians. Pardon me if I call you all civilians. Why? Because the armed forces call us as Faucis and they said civilians. So, as a civilian, how did you really try and get into that angle that if you call, talk of the DOB runway, or you talk of Pada, talk of the Muller Lake, or you talk of the Bina River in Bangladesh, how will a civilian relate with that particular story? It's difficult to relate, for him to relate with that story unless he's interested in that. Or see, somewhere in the heart he would have had that I wanted to join the armed forces. I could. There's a book which will give you some 7 stories. One it purely speaks of NDS, so that's not an actual story for leadership. So 7 stories speak of pure leadership, and that was all at the duty level. Right? They've all been platoon commanders, they've been company commanders. So, so did you ever have that fear in your mind wherein, see, from the commercial angle, that today in case a civilian reads it, how will you relate this? Today you talk of he going towards the Buller Lake or the, talking of Popada forest jungles, or talk of the Manipur township. How was the common civilian to relate with this?
It's a great question. This is something which was absolutely on our mind. We've read a lot of army literature published by people who have served in the armed forces. It generally gets very technical. Also, a lot of it is written in the format of like scrolls or narrations. And we felt that at the end of the day, our audience is civilians, people who are living their everyday lives. We went through several iterations to cut down technical details, though there was always this urge to put in more technical words. That is where also a lot of people were very helpful in terms of doing beta reading to see that is the story understandable for a simple person who finds it. And then also we try to build these descriptions or mental map like how would Supara look like. I have no idea, I have not visited it. So we tried that process, and an iterative process with beta readers helped us. Again, I don't think we have always been able to describe it very accurately, but we felt that whenever we have a doubt, we'll err on the side of being very simple as opposed to being more detailed.
Or maybe a map in say half a page of a map showing the location could have helped in giving you a kind of say a pictorial depiction of the entire story in a crux.
So again, this is where the publication angle comes in. So I learned through this publication process, doing all that with a publisher becomes very, very, very complex, and we were in a hurry to publish. So we didn't do that, but I see the point. In some places it could add value. I have personally read books where again those maps are only understandable by people who have served in the armed forces. Like I'm right now reading a book on the Battle of Dogra. It has a lot of maps. I absolutely struggle to understand any one of them.
In fact, it's interesting, in case someone read the book, there's a gentleman called as DPK Pillai. He happens to be my postmate. So, even though we tease him as diesel, petrol, kerosene Pillai. You know, so, I like that. Yeah, right? So that's one of the things. And the last chapter which talks of AVM Chafikar, you know, landing into the fields of the runways there, is a AFG called as the Neuma runways. Neuma is the name of a place. So I belong to 58 Indian Regiment. That's my regiment. And the AFG's first, the virgin landing of AVM Chafikar was done by, the AFG was prepared by regiment. And that's, so that's the reason I could relate with everything there, you know. So me as a reader, I finished the book in half an hour. I finished the book in half an hour. It came in the evening at around 6 o'clock to me. By night, 9 o'clock it was done. I messaged Shikha that I am done with the book. Lovely book. And even the NDA part. Had you included the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy to a limited extent, could have also done you could have mixed up all stories. One Air Force story, the submarine story is excellent. In case someone read the submarine story, it's a very difficult life in the submarines. You know, so he's covered that very well. That too, way back, you know, in the troubled waters of Pakistan, he's gone and come back. So a bit of AFA and INA would have, you know, highlighted even
feedback taken. Unfortunately, we didn't have access. We couldn't visit those places, but that's my aspiration. That by the time we write the next book, I want to visit those places and ensure that we cover them as well.
And talking of a movie, like my regiment was part of the 1998 Pokhran nuclear test. So the Parmanu movie, which all of you would have seen, we like how he's narrating and how she's, you know, interviewing him. The entire Abhishek Sharma was the director of the movie. So we were the ones who narrated the entire episode. We talk of how the camouflaging was done, how the satellite is moving. So all these, you know, tidbits were all taken by Abhishek and John Abraham from us. So me and Lieutenant Colonel Sharma was an officer from our regiment who narrated the whole thing. And if you see, our name comes out in that scroll somewhere in the bottom. So one thing very nice was the premiere, which was screened in Bombay. He was very kind enough to have called us to the premiere. To see, you know, watch a movie with Abhishek Bachchan sitting next to you is out of the question in life. But thanks to the uniform, we got to do that in life. But excellent book written by you. Excellent. I hope it motivates at least about at least 100 Gujaratis to come and join the armed forces. Right? So I am in Ahmedabad University. I am a registrar at the Ahmedabad University. His family business. And I told him, what's your, I keep meeting youngsters. Is Mohit there by any chance? He's not there, actually. So, जिंदगी में क्या करोगे? Dad का business है. I said, Dad के business के अलावा भी और जिंदगी में है कुछ. So, but then probably that thing is that will take time for the culture to really. It will take time.
But I'm hoping at least, like you said, 5 people, 10 people get inspired by this. That would be purpose-based.
Hopefully. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your kind words, sir. If anybody else has to express anything, otherwise I'll hand over the mic back from where it began.
What an enlightening session. Now, I'd like Ms. Shradha Ramani to felicitate Mr. Purav.
And we will not be biased. We brought the same gift for Sudeep as well. And Sudeep, we are giving it in front of you anyways. So first I'll hand over of Sudeep. Please take on behalf of Sudeep. I would request Mr. Prakash to kindly join me on stage to hand over the memento to Dr. Purav Gandhi, who has passed the examination after such a grilling session.
There was no leak, I hope. No leakage.
Now I'd like Dr. Purav Gandhi to return the favor and felicitate Ms. Shradha Ramani.
You are doing scripting with them as well.